What's up, Lantern fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, coming at you once again with another Green Lantern product review. This time I'm taking a look at the DC Direct Blackest Night 4-figure box set of the Black Lantern Blue Beetle, Star Sapphire Fatality, Indigo Monk, and the man wearing blue and green rings, it's Hal Jordan. This is a rare box set, and it was difficult to find at a reasonable price. I was able to make a deal for this one at a Comic-Con, and I was very happy to add this to my collection. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the package details now. The front features a large window to view the set. On the top of the package, it says Blackest Night. On the bottom, we get some product information. Each side features a product shot of 2 of the figures. This side features the Star Sapphire Fatality and the Black Lantern Blue Beetle, and we get information about the story in the comic book.
The comic is a reprint of Green Lantern number 40 and 41, as well as Booster Gold number 27.
And we can see this shot of Indigo Monk and Hal Jordan. Although Hal Jordan and Indigo Monk are clearly visible within the packaging, my biggest criticism of this packaging is that Blue Beetle and Fatality are partially obscured. This was a 2011 release. The packaging shows some signs of wear, including yellowing to the plastic. So that makes it an easy call. It's time to bust these figures out of the package and see what's inside. Here's a closer look at the 4 peg bases with the corresponding core symbols. The comic book comes in its own protective plastic, and I am going to gently take this out and give you a look at some of the details. Of course, it says Blackest Night at the top. Hal Jordan is on the front cover wearing the 2 core rings. On the back here, we get to see the various figures represented in the Brightest Day line. And here's a quick look at some of the interior art. And here we see the Black Lantern, Blue Beetle, Indigo Monk, Star Sapphire Fatality, and Hal Jordan. All of them out of the package and ready to rumble. I am very happy to finally own this set as I continue to build my Blackest Night set to completion, although I do have some issues with these figures, so let's go ahead and get a closer look at the loose details now. Here's a closer look at Fatality, and this is the figure that I think has the most problems. Now, full disclosure here, number one, I'm a huge fan of Fatality, so I had high expectations. I'm also not a fan of the Star Sapphire's uniforms from this period. You might feel differently, but I don't like it when beauty and or sensuality takes precedence over functionality, especially in the case of military types of characters. I felt that it was important to put those 2 things out there since I'm trying to do an objective review. Also, I do feel that the figure has some design flaws, one of which is that I can only get her to stand for a very short period of time without a base. I will say that there's some good sculpting on this figure, and I do like the paint choice, this bubblegum type of pink. It is eye-catching. You can see here she just won't stand on her own, and that was disappointing. So I'll put her on the base. Another disappointment for me with this figure is the musculature. Yara Sinril is a warrior, and you'll know that if you know her history in DC Comics, so I felt like this figure should have had a much more athletic build than it does. In terms of articulation, you can get her to kick forward this far. She has the single-jointed knee. And if you've never seen any of my other Green Lantern reviews, I always encourage people to be very careful when you are posing an older DC Direct figure. They are known for some fragility. Here's a closer look at the hip articulation. There's no articulation in the torso at all. You can get her arms to go out about this far. She also has the single jointed elbows, so at least you can get her into a good ring slinging pose. And in terms of the head articulation, it's very limited because of the design of the costume. As you can see, the collar stops the head from turning too much due to the sculpt of the figure's hair. Despite the articulation issues, I really do like this head sculpt. The skin looks realistic. The mask has been sculpted very well. The paint applications are very exact. Again, this pink paint choice is very eye-popping, and I really like the look of the hair as well. Here's a side view of the head, and you can see just how realistic the hair looks. I also like that we got the pointed ears. Those have been sculpted very well. For those of you who don't know, Yara's not human. She's actually from the planet Xanchi, which eventually led to her conflict with the Green Lanterns, especially John Stewart. Here's a close-up of the ring, and as is the case on any ring where the ring is the same color as the hand and or glove, it's difficult to get a good shot. I think they did a pretty good job with this ring. I would have liked a little bit more detail in the way of a wash that would give it more definition, but I don't think that this is a bad effort. At least the ring is sculpted and not just a dot of paint. Here is the figure next to the 2002 DC Direct Fatality. I was hoping that the Blackest Night figure would be an upgrade because this figure has no articulation at all in the lower body, but I ended up still liking this figure better than the Blackest Night figure. But all of that being said, because I'm such a huge fan of the Green Lantern mythos and Fatality as a character, I'm still very happy to have this figure as a display piece. It's still very eye-catching. Now let's have a look at Blue Beetle. And full disclosure, once again, I would have preferred a Green Lantern-centric character over Blue Beetle. Since Blackest Night was a Green Lantern-centric crossover, I would have preferred a character like Ermi or Kihan or Jade, someone along those lines. But that's just my preference as a Green Lantern fan. I do understand that Blue Beetle was a selling point. Technically, I think this is a great figure in many ways, especially taking into consideration the company and the time period. The paint applications are clean and the musculature is extremely well done. In terms of articulation, the boots swivel back and forth. You can get the figure to kick out that far forward. Once again, single jointed knees. The figure steps back to a very small degree, and you can actually get both legs to step back the small amount that they do. In terms of arm articulation, he has the single jointed elbows. There's rotation at both wrists. That's the ring hand, and this is a gripping hand. The shoulders move out this far, and he also has the bicep swivel, and I really appreciate that. There's no articulation in the torso, although the torso is sculpted extremely well. The figure can look side to side easily. The head doesn't move up, it moves down a small amount, and there is a modest amount of head tilting. I really do appreciate this head sculpt. I really like the paint choice, this silver that is on the mask. I think that looks really good, as well as all of the sculpting on the face. The rotting flesh and the hungry expression are very accurate to the Black Lanterns. Here's a side view of the head sculpt, and you can see just how unsettling the mouth area looks. Here's a close-up of the ring, and even though it's not paint or a sticker, once again we have the issue of the ring and the glove being the same color. And that presents a problem because it makes the ring difficult to see. Now let's take a look at the headliner himself, Hal Jordan, from a period of unparalleled popularity in the character's history. Of course, this figure represents the time that St. Walker put the blue ring on Hal Jordan's hand, and you get this fused version of the blue and green energies. The paint applications on this are outstanding. Even though this is a reused body mold, this is still a really cool looking figure. There's a lot of things to like about it. Even with the reused parts, the glossy paint and the excellent sculpting make this a really cool pickup for any Green Lantern fan. In terms of articulation, once again, there is swiveling at the boots. There's single jointed knees, and I'm trying to be very careful here. So there is the knee bend via the single pin. Once again, you really can't get the figure to step back, but both legs do kick forward that far. No articulation in the torso again, although I really do appreciate the sculpting here on the Green Lantern symbol. This is how core symbols should look. It's sculpted around the edges, and that looks really excellent. There is rotation at the wrists here, and the figure has the bicep swivel on both arms, and I appreciate that. You can get the arms to go up about this far on either side. At least for mine, one shoulder is tighter than the other. But with the articulation that you have, you can get him into the big power pose, and that's something that I always find attractive. The figure's head turns easily from side to side. He can look down considerably, but there isn't much articulation in the way of looking up, although there is a considerable amount of head tilting. I really appreciate all of the details on the head. The paint applications are very tight on the mask. The skin looks realistic, and the expression on Hal Jordan is very fitting. And with this side view, you can see just how well the hair has been produced. The sculpting is excellent, and the paint applications make it look very realistic. Here's a close-up of the ring, and although the paint applications are well done, the ring is still lacking a little in detail, and it's also undersized. So while this is not bad, I still think that DC Direct could have done better. And here's a very obvious omission. This hand should have a blue ring, and unfortunately, it's not there. And here we have Indigo Monk, sometimes referred to as Indigo 2. And this figure was my main draw to this 4-figure box set. You may be wondering why that is. Well, as a collector, the figures that I want the most are characters who haven't been done before. And to my knowledge, there's this figure and the Hero Clicks figure for Indigo Monk, and that's it. So I was very happy to add this figure to my Blackest Night collection. I really like the way that the clothing has been done here. It's very pliable, as you can see. With the top piece here, it's actually held in place by the Indigo Tribe symbol. The sculpting on this is just excellent. You can see the definition back here on the latissimus dorsi. Munnk is a really muscular character, and you can see that reflected here in the biceps and the triceps and the quadriceps. I only have one criticism, although it is a major one. Both of the hands are gripping hands, and they're well done, but there's no Indigo Tribe staff. And that's how the Indigo Tribe recharges their rings, so one day I'm going to pick up an extra staff for this figure. In terms of articulation, once again, there is rotation at both wrists. He has the single jointed elbow, bicep swivel. You can get his arms to go out this far from the sides. He can kick forward this far. He doesn't wear boots, so I guess you'd call this mid-calf rotation. He has the single jointed knees. He doesn't step back very much, unfortunately. And like the other figures, there is no articulation in the torso, although it is sculpted very well. The head moves freely from side to side, as you can see here. And there's a considerable amount of head tilting, although I'm wondering if this particular figure's head is looser than it should be. So be very careful when you are articulating the head. I'm really impressed by this head sculpt. You can see the Indigo tribe symbol on his forehead and all of those wrinkles that have been sculpted in. The brows look accurate, as well as the chin. And even though this is alien skin, it still looks realistic. Here's a side view, and you can see just how well the cheekbones and the jawline and the skull have been sculpted. This is just really excellent work by DC Direct. And this figure also has the best ring of the four. You can see a clear differentiation between the ring and the hand. Both the shape and the paint applications are very accurate to the comics. I certainly hope you have enjoyed this review. If so, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for some articulation shots, and also remember to catch me on the Emerald Echo podcast, and that's available right here on YouTube. And I'll be back with more Green Lantern-related content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.